Elden Ring is one of, if not my favourite game of all time. So when I first watched this trailer for Nightreign, I went through a roller coaster of emotions. At first I was hyped, thinking it was somehow a sequel or a DLC of some sort, and then I realised after looking more into it that Nightreign was going to be a battle royale style multiplayer roguelike, and my dreams were immediately shattered into a million pieces. Since finding this out, I kept my expectations somewhat low, as making a battle royale like format out of Elden Ring of all games just didn't seem like a concept that made any sense to me. And I presumed this weird formula paired with a pretty forgettable online experience with the main game would lead to an either mediocre or just straight up horrible final product. But I'm happy to say that I was incredibly wrong. Yes, the game isn't perfect, and I can see why people seem to be having mixed opinions on it lately, which I'll definitely touch on during this video, but personally I've been having a lot of fun with Elden Ring Nightreign, to the point where I may actually have an addiction. But before I start diving into my based and correct opinions that no one would even dare disagree with me on, first we should probably go over the basics of what we're actually talking about here. I've seen a lot of descriptions of Nightreign be summed up as a battle royale game, which is pretty accurate. The game starts with you flying over a map and landing. You spend most of the game scurrying around the environment looking for random loot, and when you're defeated you lose all that you gathered and start again. But for some reason it just feels wrong putting it in that category for me, and I think it might be because of the games found in the same metric. Most battle royale games you see now are mundane, boring copies of something that was extremely innovative over a decade ago.
Oh my god, why are you so angry?
Because the fucking youth of society.
What I'm trying to get at here is the game feels like more than just your typical battle royale game, despite the glaring similarities. First off, every match begins with you picking from a handful of different characters that have various skills, stats, passives, and abilities that can drastically change your gameplay experience between runs. You've got the Heavy Brute, who thrives with massive hammers and great swords. They also offer a skill that soaks up hits and counters with a huge blow, and an ultimate which builds a massive block of stone where you stand, getting you out of harm's way and supplies yourself and teammates with an attack boost. The only real downside to this character, as you can probably guess, is his agility. And since his kit prioritizes heavy weapons, you're probably going to notice your stamina has a tendency to just vanish in thin air. We've also got the Executor, who's basically a dexterity focused samurai character who prioritizes bleed weapons, has a deflecting skill that can essentially parry anything, and an ultimate which transforms you into a giant beast for a short time. Basically, if you're a fan of Sekiro and the parrying system it has, then you'll definitely like this character. There's a magic character called the Recluse, with a skill that has you take elements from enemies or allies and unleash different spells depending on the combo, which is honestly a pretty interesting way of designing a magic focused class that I wish was in the base game in some capacity. Your ultimate marks all nearby enemies and makes yourself and allies heal, inflict bleed, and replenish FP with every hit for a short time. And there's even a character you can play that mainly thrives in spirit summoning. Also, your ultimate boosts the spirits around you, giving them an extra more powerful move, and makes you and your nearby allies, including spirits, unkillable for a short time. I do find it funny how in the base game, spirit summoning was always this controversial topic, where some players would get livid over the fact that people chose to use strong summons to help them beat a boss, which is just a perfect example of how arrogant the Soulsborne fanbase can be at times.
If you didn't beat Malenia with no weapons, no summons, on a broken monitor, then you didn't really beat her, did you?
Someone didn't play the Bloodborne DLC, like, sharp. I do like how, despite that, they've still decided to add a spirit summoning character to Nightreign. Just shows how little the devs care about the players who moan about that sort of thing. But that's just some of the characters you can play as. I won't go over every single one, as it really could be its own video at this point. But back to the game itself, let's talk about the actual expeditions. There are 8 expeditions in total, counting the final one you unlock after beating a few. Each one has a weakness of some sort, which can make the fight drastically easier, and the format of which you play through each expedition is more or less the same, with the first night giving you access to the full map and slowly closing in until you fight a randomly selected boss at the end, which could be a familiar fight from Elden Ring or the DLC, or even some classics from past Dark Souls games, which is pretty cool to see. Then this process repeats for the second night with another random boss spawning at the last circle.
That was the big boy. Oh my god.
Oh shit.
Oh no.
Oh my... That's new? Whoa! Why is he targeting me?
I think he is. You got a big red circle on your big one.
Fuck! What have I done? Oh.
Oh no, don't get close to me, man. He's gonna hurt me.
Just fuck off. After defeating the more challenging second boss, you then get transported to a familiar looking location if you played through the Elden Ring DLC, and you finally fight the unique final boss shown in the selected expedition's description, which can range from a rip-off water elden beast to an enormous ice dragon, or whatever the hell you call this piece of shit. But none of that matters if you can't beat the first one, as you don't unlock any others until you do, which did take me way longer than I would care to admit.
What the fuck? He just turned into a fireball.
I'm out of spells.
I think I have an FP thing. Come here.
That is fucked.
Oh my god.
Oh, wait.
No, stay here. Please.
My thing's moving. Oh wait, I'm still on it, but...
I'm dead.
Uh-oh.
I think he knows who's going up there, bro.
No, why?
He moves around so damn much.
That move is genuinely fucked. Oh, he's down.
Yeah, true. I'm dead. Oh!
Oh my god. Please get him.
I got him. Yeah, just talk. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. 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 Fuck.
That was the one. But for the most part, these bosses are worthy of being fought by a group. Each boss has at least one devastating move that could easily end a run at any moment, and the majority have what I like to call a relentless face fuck phase, where the boss targets one player and just starts throwing out every bullshit move imaginable for a short time. But at the end of the day, we all knew this game would have some batshit crazy boss fights. One thing that surprised me about Nightreign though was how accessible it was. Now this is something I've always praised Elden Ring for, as in my opinion it offered the perfect balance of insane challenge while still making new players feel welcome to some extent, which is partly the reason why I got so into the game as a new player to the genre as a whole. But for some reason with Nightreign, I sort of just presumed it would be mainly suited for players of the base game, but in reality it's actually surprisingly easy to get into. From the simple tutorial to the pre-made character kits, and the plenty of useful information you're given access to before starting. And a lot of the mechanics found in Elden Ring have even been simplified to suit Nightraign's more sporadic format and playstyle. And of course, the fact that this is a multiplayer game alone makes learning how bosses and features work much easier too. I'd be lying if I said my experience with Elden Ring didn't make some things easier when playing Nightreign, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, I really think even someone completely brand new to these types of games could pick up and learn Nightreign with little to no hassle, which is a huge positive for a multiplayer game in general, never mind a Souls-like. But on the other hand, there is a lot more not necessary but still useful aspects to learn about the game than I ever would have expected, which I also really like. For example, you have charged versions of character ultimates that give bonus effects effects or moves when activated rather than just pressing it. There's NPCs you can choose to talk to or fight, which starts a full-blown boss battle, which you can attempt for extra runes. Hell, I haven't even talked about the relic system, which lets you equip various different abilities or perks for each character. And you can even use the currency you earn after matches to buy what's essentially loot boxes to try and get better ones. Except this type of loot box doesn't have any flashy visuals, satisfying noises, or makes you miss a month's worth of rent after opening too many. There's countless different events that can occur on the map during a match that can vary from a special boss encounter, a cataclysm area which can spawn an AI copy of one of the characters you picked from, and a meteorite can even crash land nearby at any moment. There's just so many small details or massive events that help keep this game engaging, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much there is to experience and learn in general while playing Nightreign. But as much as I've been loving Nightreign lately, that doesn't mean it's not got some negatives or things to improve. The most glaring oversight for me is the fact that you have the choice to play in a trio or solo, but not a duo. Why would you not make that an option? And this isn't even just an issue of not being able to queue with only one friend, but it can also act as a hindrance to your match. As during my time with the game, I've mainly been playing with one friend, meaning we always end up queuing up with a random, which is fine until you encounter a literal toddler who decides to rage quit if even a minute aspect of the match doesn't go their way.
Oh, they left the world.
And unlike solos, the game doesn't make things any easier when you're playing with one less player, meaning your match has essentially been sabotaged for the rest of the game.
No, you got it, Chief. I believe in you.
You ready for this dodge?
Yes. Most dodge.
Wait up, got you.
Yeah.
Well,
One more?
he's never gonna see this coming.
Oh my.
See those moves? Oh.
Oh dear.
Oh, it must be out of stamina. And what makes things even worse is I'm not sure that there's any actual consequences for leaving. Like, yeah, the game gives you an ominous message saying you'll be punished if you do, but in both me and my friend's experience with being disconnected or leaving because a random's left, we haven't had anything happen. Not exactly ideal, and I hope they add a duos mode soon, or better yet, add some sort of consequence for someone purposely abandoning a match. As without them, these parasitic vermin have no incentive to stick around when a match doesn't go exactly how they planned all the way through. And while on the topic of multiplayer, like, why not just add voice chat? Especially considering how important communication is in this game. Having just one of your teammates decide to go off on their own and chase a butterfly all game can drastically affect the trajectory of the match. And being able to quickly ask what your teammates' ults are at instead of guessing, or asking what items they have with them, for example, would make the game feel much simpler to play with random people. Features like these may sound basic, but for a multiplayer focused game, it would be a massive improvement. And I'm honestly surprised they aren't in the game already. Other than that though, the rest of my issues are more so nitpicks, like with the enemy variation. You can come across basically every enemy from Elden Ring throughout Nightrein's map, which for the most part I'm fine with, as there are a lot of different types, but I do wish they treated the basic mobs the same way as they did the Night 1 and 2 bosses, by adding repeat enemies from past games. So it would still be reusing enemies, but adding a whole lot more variation. And the same can be said about the map. The game basically takes place on the same small portion of Elden Ring's map, with it changing between slightly different versions every run or so, with there sometimes being a Frost Mountain section or a Scarlet Rot part in the corner, and so on. To be fair, these areas do offer some new familiar enemies and boss fights from Elden Ring that suit one of those themes, which is all well and good, but I would love to see entirely new maps in the future. You could even take what I said earlier and make a map inspired by the original Dark Souls, for example, and have only enemies from that game spawn in that map. But even just some new versions of the pre-existing Elden Ring map would be cool too. But that's about it for my thoughts on Nightreign. I have been enjoying it way more than I ever would have expected, and realistically the main gripes I have at the moment can be easily remedied or added in future updates. But I can already imagine what insane expeditions they could have planned planned in the future. And if anything, I'm just intrigued to see where they take the game. And considering how hooked I am already, I could genuinely be in trouble if they execute it right. But tell me what you guys think in the comments. I'd be interested to hear any differing opinions to my own. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I'll see you in another one.